laid to rest, I pray before I sleep. I know my soul you will keep, yeah. And if I die before I wake, pray my soul you will take. In you I have all the faith. I will praise no God but you. I've seen what you can do. No hips, no but, no maybe. As I kneel on my knees and pray, I pray you guide me every day. Guide me, oh God. Please show me the way. Teach me how to pray. Yeah. Mold me, oh God. Rule me every day. Teach me what to say, yeah, yeah. I pray the Almighty God, please show me the way. Please protect me. Teach me how to pray. Guide me night and day.
Good evening, Facebook family. 89.1, good evening. How are we doing tonight? Good evening, everybody there joining in tonight for another episode of Yes with Yesse. Good evening, newseasonfm.com around the world. Worthy, he is worthy. Worthy is the Lamb. I love that song, and I didn't want to take it down, but we got to get the show on the road. Good evening there, everybody. Again, at Facebook, good evening. Thank you for being there and joining. I see Denai J. I am doing amazing. Thank you for asking. I hope you're doing well as well. Sister Marcia, good evening. Good evening. Yes, worthy is the Lamb. Good evening, Sister Laurel. I see you. Good evening. And everybody else tuning in that we can't see, and those that are on their way, good evening. If you're on your way home, if you're already home, good evening to you. Hope you had an amazing day. Productive day is what counts, right? Productive day in peace and with God, that is all that counts. So it's gonna be an awesome night. I'm gonna change it a little bit tonight. I feel like there's so much out there and so much information that we need to know that why not, give you guys a sense of a little like news segment as it pertains to all of the things and services and benefits, things going on out there in the community and society that we don't necessarily know about because the news is hidden, it's not out there yet, or we just don't know how to find that news, right? So we are going to talk a little bit about different things. First things first, if you guys tuned into Bible study last night, it was an awesome, really awesome word. So I encourage you to go back and take a listen, and you will definitely learn something and be filled. I promise you. So with that, if you haven't done so, please go ahead and take a listen to it later today so you'll understand where I'm coming from. So earlier today, actually, I had an amazing opportunity to connect with a local city to take Funclusion, the event that I do every year promoting inclusion through entertainment, to a local city. And alongside that, also take the services to individuals with disabilities. It was something that it was not expected. It was, okay, there's this event coming on. Let's see how we can potentially collaborate. And it went from there to all of a sudden I am in a Zoom meeting with the city officials, the people in charge of this event on a local level, on the city level, and with another local non-for-profit, and it was incredible. It was incredible, and that's to show, how God will make a way, how God will put those divine connections in your way, in your life, like in no time. There is no time frame for when God is going to make that way for you, when he is going to connect you. I think the best thing is when it happens unexpectedly, in a sense. You're believing and you're praying and you get a word and boom, there he is. So it's awesome. It's awesome, and it's amazing feeling when I was in this meeting. That local representative made a comment, and she said, "Oh yeah, Funclusion. I've seen that. That event going on, and they do this and this and this." And she was on point with everything that we do with Funclusion, and she was very receptive of it, and I appreciated that very much because it tells me that no matter how big, no matter how small, your attempt is, your event, your services, whatever it is that you do, someone is always watching. Someone is always watching, and that's why it's so important to put our best foot forward when we are doing the things that we are doing, especially when it's our passion, when we have a love for it, and when we know that it not only changes and impacts my life, but it impacts the lives of those that I'm reaching and that I'm serving, and that I'm providing this opportunity to, in a sense, to be included and being provided with these services that maybe otherwise they wouldn't have. So it was a great connection and an opportunity this morning to go through this. And so that's awesome. And alongside with that, guys, there's so many things coming up for the end of the year, for the new year. So stay tuned for that, so you can definitely be a part of it. So it's really awesome. So I'm going to talk to you guys tonight about certain things that's going on in our community, locally and globally. So that was my news, my one-on-one news for what's going on the local level. Now let's go to what's happening all around the world, or that affects those of us with disabilities all around the world. And, we have to be mindful that what impacts me definitely impacts others no matter where they are. So, the first thing that I was reading, which I didn't know, so this was good news, is that for those of us that receive any kind of governmental benefit, we're getting a raise in the new year. We are getting a raise in the new year to a 5.9% raise. It's not much, but it's something. So that's really cool because so many people depend on this particular benefit. It's their lifeline, and it's how they pay their bills. So, hey, a little bit more money doesn't hurt anybody, right? And then a few weeks ago, maybe about a few months ago, to be honest with you, we had a conversation where I mentioned to you guys the home and community-based services being being given or being provided with a lot of money to say it like that from the government that will allow thousands of individuals with developmental disabilities to get off the waiting list. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Earlier this year, we did talk about it. And so what it is President Biden. President Biden pledged to invest $400 billion, guys. That's a big number. $400 billion to provide it to the Medicaid home and community-based services with two things in mind. So think about that, okay? $400 million with two goals in mind. One is to get people with disabilities off of the waiting list. And when I say waiting list, it's off of the Medicaid waiver waiting list, okay? And this will allow them to receive services of nursing, home health care, companionship, supported employment, supported living, just to name a few. And that second goal with this is to expand the workforce of the direct support staff. So what's happening now with the pandemic and everything, there's not enough workers to provide services to these individuals that need them so much. People are opting out of working because of the pandemic, because of the virus. They're receiving unemployment, whatever it is. So we don't have enough workers to work with our students and our patients, to say it like that. So that's the two main goals of this program. Keeping that in mind, okay, that these are services that individuals with developmental disabilities need for their lifeline, to stay alive, to stay active, and to be, a part of society the best way possible. Already the U.S. House of Representatives cut the spending by more than half, and that's to $190 billion. So we hear $190 billion, that's a lot of money. If you understood how these services and how these programs worked funding-wise, you would understand that's not a lot of money. Specifically, how many people are on the list that still need these services, and those of us that continue to receive the services, actively speaking. So that is a big deal. So it's definitely not enough money based on the need, and we also run the risk of it being cut off. So we run the risk of not having enough, and we run the risk of that money being cut off altogether, which means the home and community-based services can be eliminated as a whole. And why is that so important? So if we understood that community-based and services can be cut as a whole, and if you guys remember, I spoke about ARC South Florida and the advocacy that they and myself have been doing for some time now in regards to this topic. What happens is if they cut those services, that means that people with developmental disabilities or people that depend on these services can no longer live at home. Now they would be restricted to living in a facility, a nursing home facility, a group home, as many of my students, they're not kids, but as many of my students do. And that's not good because you are now eliminating the whole sense of community and inclusion for these individuals that otherwise, this would have been their only way of having that sense of inclusion and community. So in eliminating that, yes, Sister Laurel, that was exactly my reaction. In doing that, you are welcoming other issues. You're welcoming other issues, depressions and anxieties and isolation and all of these things that make matters worse. And that's the part that unfortunately the politicians and those who have the power to make these decisions don't see. They're thinking money. They're thinking we're going to save money by just putting all of these individuals in one single, home, to say it like that, and we'll save money because we no longer have to provide these services. We'll have a one-stop location. And that's not always the case. Having that one-stop shop mentality doesn't always save you money, number one, and it's not always good for the people we serve. So that's what's happening. And so currently, as I mentioned, ARC South Florida and I and so many others have been advocating on this because we come from that experience. And then currently, just so that you guys know, about 1 million people with developmental disabilities are currently on the waiting list nationwide. That is a lot of people. 1 million people worldwide that are still on this waiting list that are not getting any kind of service whatsoever. So when I know that, I understand that maybe what I need, being that, and I thank God for it, I'm nowhere near where they are physically as far as their disability. I don't need those services. So that, puts into perspective the true need of the people. If you can think 1 billion and the numbers that I mentioned earlier with $400 billion being cut down to $190 billion, and you have over possibly 1 million people waiting, that's a lot to swallow. That's a lot to swallow, because that lets you know from a different perspective how many people are going to be with no services or minimal services. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal, and that's why the advocacy is so important. So I see you guys. Good evening, Mario. Good evening, Sister Carol. Good evening. Good evening, Sister Mina. Thank you for joining. Good evening. So that is the story, guys, and that's something that, we always hear one side of the story a lot of times, and there's your side, their side, and the truth, and that is the real impact that these services, or the lack of these services, have on individuals with disabilities. For me, and I may have shared this with you guys before, again, I get the minimal services, just somebody checking on me, or, some kind of whatever supply I might need, or whatever the case. And so recently when I got sick, that was when my coverage really came into play, because it was hospital stays and treatments and all these things. And yet still I got medical bills. So in my mind, okay, I have all these insurances, I have Medicaid waiver, I'm limited in how much income I can make, I'm limited in employment, I'm limited in all these things, yet I still have co-payments and medical bills because I got sick and there was nothing I could do about it. And so that is where my sense of advocacy comes in. Is it that I have to sacrifice, for a lack of a better term, my life, my independence, to keep these services, yet when, God forbid, something happens, I still have to come and pay out of pocket, or I still have to fight with my insurance to make sure that they cover everything, every single dollar that they have to cover, and that's not fair. That's not fair, because I could be making more money, helping myself out, helping out the government in a sense, and everybody's happy. And that is across the board, especially now with the pandemic happening. The leaders and the supervisors, they learned that a lot of these jobs that you obligate all people to go to physically and you have to drive to, a lot of those things we were able to do from home. So if you have people with disabilities that literally cannot leave their home, that, they have mobility issues, or they have an aid, and it's things that you don't allow in the workplace, if we let them work from home, they'll be able to make money. They'll be able to pay taxes. They wouldn't be a burden to society, right? So it's kind of like, which way do we want to go? What's happening? And so that's why the advocacy is so important. And when I was asked to advocate on the topic, I didn't really feel qualified to advocate on this particular topic because I come from a different situation where I don't depend so much on the care. I don't at all on the caregivers and and that kind of thing. So, but it still was an honor and amazing to be able to advocate for those that do, because I never know God and God willing, I never will be on their side. I'll never depend on these services. However, it is good to learn, and it is good to advocate so that all people across the board can have the services that they need no matter what. Yes, it's crazy for sure. So that's the different kind of things, guys, that I see every single day, that I think about every single day, that I see every single day, and it is real. It is definitely real. So when I received that opportunity this morning to partner with another city, providing the advocacy services and the conclusion events and all these things, I was like, yes, because people are watching, people are seeing, they're seeing that it is making a difference, that it's making an impact, that you're leaving a whole group of people, that you are missing out on a whole group of people that can be an asset to you and to your community. So it was amazing, and I was speaking to a friend of mine from another local city, and they were like, yes, we want to be that model place. Now everybody can start doing it, and that's fine. And I have to lead it. That's fine too. No problem. So it's really, really great. It's really, really great to know that what we're doing is making an impact. It is impactful, and people are learning more than anything, and providing opportunity to all people. And so the last thing I want to talk to you guys about today, which was very interesting, it brought a smile to my face when I saw it earlier today. I've mentioned inclusion through entertainment, or fun-clusion. Inclusion through entertainment is what it used to be when we first started. And that's a social event I put together every year, promoting the inclusion of all people with disabilities through entertainment. To say, listen, we have a disability, but we have talent, skills, and abilities, and we want to use it. And so I read that, which I believe I saw an episode or two when it first came out, but I was reading that Netflix is bringing back the second season of Love on the Spectrum. And Love on the Spectrum, if you're familiar with it, Spectrum really relates to developmental disorders, and specifically autism and neurological disabilities. And so it features 7 young adults with developmental disorders navigating dating and relationships. And it is the sweetest thing to see, because they want what everybody else wants, whether you have a disability or not. It's a human thing, a human need. And so you really get an insight as to the behaviors. You get an insight as to the behaviors, the language, the community, and you get an insight to many things that we as members of society kind of discard as it pertains to individuals with disabilities. Like, oh, so-and-so will never get married, they'll never have a girlfriend, or they'll never have a boyfriend, or even they'll never have children. And number one, we shouldn't make that assumption about anybody unless we really know. And number two, it's not fair. It's not fair because as much as you think that person doesn't understand, more than likely, a lot of times they understand more than you think. And I remember one situation I was around very recently. A young lady had a boyfriend. This young lady has Down syndrome. She had a boyfriend, or a young guy that she was interested in, and mom was very upset. Mind you, this girl is over 21, so she's an adult, and mom was like, no, she's not gonna have any children, and she's not gonna get married, and she's not gonna do this. And I believe that a show like this will bring awareness to a mom with that mindset, or a dad with that mindset of it is possible. It is possible, because their difference doesn't deny them, nor should it deny them this opportunity of living a fulfilling life like any other adult. And so that was very interesting to witness, and it taught me that parents, we still need a lot of education as it pertains to disability in the now, and what our kids, regardless of the age, or young adults, can do or can accomplish despite their diagnosis or their disability. So that was interesting. So this is set to begin very, very soon on Netflix, and again, it's called Love on the Spectrum. Love on the Spectrum. It's it's a sweet thing that's happening as we're definitely getting more inclusive in society of all people in these areas. And again, which is why education is so important as it pertains to all of these different issues. Even if it doesn't affect us directly, if we really sit down and think about it, we all know somebody that knows somebody around us who is affected by it, or who does live with a difference or a disability. And so the more that we are educated, the more we can help them be a part of society. So I'm a Netflix fan. I will be watching. I will be watching, and I will be following up with all of these things going on that we have been talking about. It's really, really interesting. And you did, Sister Laurel. What did you think? Did you like it? Sister Laurel said that she saw it. Awesome. So, a lot of awesome things happening. Check it out on Netflix, coming up soon. And, never discard or never discount what somebody can accomplish regardless of that disability, or the difference, because we do want the same thing everybody else that does, and that is to belong, to have a sense of inclusion, to showcase what we can do, to work, to make money. Absolutely, we have to make money, and we need it to be independent and self-sufficient to the best of our ability, and no one should be taken away that right, because it is a right for all people to do that. So I want to encourage you guys, if you see somebody down the street, in the supermarket, just wave hello. A hello can go a long way, and you'll never know how much you impact a life just by a simple hello, by asking questions. Know that it's okay to ask questions, because that shows that you care. That's very, very important. And Sister Marcia said, I don't have Netflix, but be on any other outlet. Hey, I'm sure it's on YouTube, because this is not the first round. It's not the first season. So I'm sure it's on YouTube, Hulu, and all those other crazy ones. To be honest, I have Netflix, and I don't even go on very much. So that lets you know how much I love watching TV. But definitely YouTube. I'm sure you can find an episode there. So with that, guys, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for listening, for interacting, and knowing that we all matter. Let's know that we all matter, that we can all make a difference, as long as we keep our eyes and our ears open to the needs of all people. Want to encourage you guys to support New Season Gospel FM. Support. The different ways to give are listed on the screen, but for those of you on 89.1, you may give by going to Cash App, $New Season WC, Zelle 954-536-1821, or you can go right to the website. New Season, I was going to give you a phone number. You can go right to the website, newseasonfm.com. And if absolutely none of those work for you, and you just want to go ahead and mail us a check, or you want to come by, you may do so at New Season Worship Center, 4660 North University Drive in Sunrise, 33351. Those are ways to give. We look forward to seeing you guys this Sunday for another awesome Sunday, awesome service of Pastor and Clergy Appreciation Month. You don't want to miss it. I think this is going to be our big week, so we're looking forward to it. Good evening, Brother Akil. I see you. Good evening. And so, yes, guys, I will see you guys again next week on another episode of Yes with Yesse. Don't forget to support the Ruel Buchanan Foundation this Saturday as of 5 p.m. at Chipotle. The link and the flyer is listed for you guys on all social media platforms. So don't forget to head out for your late lunch or dinner to Chipotle this Saturday after 5 p.m. Again, all the information has been listed for you guys on all social media platforms. And again, I will see you guys next week for another episode of Yes with Yesse. And before that, I will see you guys on Monday for another episode of Latin Monday alongside Pastor Steve. Until then, guys, have an amazing rest of the week. See you guys on Sunday and then Monday, and we will do it all over again. Thank you for joining, Brother Richard. Thank you for joining. Denai, you're awesome. You always ask. It's always an awesome time on Monday mornings on the Pastor Steve Show. And we invite you guys to join us so you can join along the fun as well and learn some español. Muy importante que aprendan español. You got to learn some Spanish. So until then, guys, we will see you guys again next week. Have an amazing rest of your day and your week. Because time flies when you're having fun. It's almost Happy Friday. Join us tomorrow for Happy Friday on the Pastor Steve Show alongside Pastor Henry. It's going to be an awesome time. See you guys then.
But you are mindful of me, that you hear me when I call. It's true, you are thinking of me, how you love me. It's amazing, it's amazing, so amazing, it's amazing. Friend.